In this video, I'm going to show you the most asked Dillard's interview questions and help you plan great answers to these. So let's look at a really important question that comes up in every interview, which is what times are you available to work? And Dillard's are really looking for three key parts to this question. The first thing is they would rather employ people who are open-minded, people who say yes, people who are open to a wide variety of shifts. The more flexibility that you can show, the better as well. And then most importantly, you need to show that you meet Dillard's needs. And it's a good idea to be ready for follow-up questions. If they ask about, can you work at this specific time? They're going to be really interested in that time. So if you say no, that of course is your choice. But the more you say no, the greater the chance that they're going to pick someone else for the role. So let's look at some of the top phrases that you can use in the interview, and you can look at these and you can pick the ones that best match you. If you've got really great availability, you could say something like, I have outstanding availability and I would be available to work a variety of hours throughout the full range of Dillard's opening hours. So if you've got great availability, that really is the perfect answer. You could say, I'd be interested in overtime if available. There may be no overtime available, but just saying that is offering that extra bit of flexibility and it makes you look quite good. You could say the hours on the job advertisement are a great match for me, or they perfectly match my availability. So if you've got on the job advert an indication of what times they're looking for, saying that you're going to meet that is really helpful. If you're a little bit more restricted, you want to talk about preferences as much as possible. So you could say, I would be most interested in these times, so give an indication of where you would prefer to work. But then you want to put in something about that you'd be available for other times if needed, and you want to show as much flexibility as you possibly can. If you're very closed and shut down and say, I can only work at this time, and they're not really looking for that time, or they're interested in other times, it's going to really harm you. So you want to be as open as possible and pick from those phrases, and you're going to have the best answer that you can for this question. The next one is super important, and they expect you to prepare for this, and that is, what do you know about Dillard's? And if they ask you, what do you know about the company, and you don't know very much, it's really going to hurt you. So let's look at what they want. They want to see that you've got the basic facts, that you know the obvious things. They want to see that you've actually done some preparation, that you've actually bothered to prepare for this, and that you've got a few facts that go beyond what most people have to impress them. And I'm going to give you on this section lots and lots of facts that you can take to your interview to show that you've done the preparation and you've got those facts that are going to show that you're actually taking this interview very seriously. So if you're asked, what do you know about Dillard's? Let's get the very basics right. They are an upscale American department store chain. That's a simple and quick way to describe them. Then you say what they sell. And the way that they describe themselves in the reports is they say that they are a premium fashion, apparel, beauty, and home collections retailer. That is a simple and short list to remember that covers the vast majority of what they sell. You can then say that they offer curated merchandise. So this is designed and specifically picked and selected for customers based on style trends, fashions, what's selling, and they create this curated experience. They are typically the anchor store. So if you look at a particular shopping mall and you look at the stores, the largest store in that mall is often a Dillard's, and they are the anchor that holds the shopping center together. They are one of the main attractions and the largest store there. So they're referred to as the anchor of that shopping center. They have clearance centers as well that are a big part of their business. They own the vast majority of stores, and that gives them a real great strength that a lot of their competitors are leasing all of their stores, whereas Dillard's are very focused on actually owning their own real estate, and that's a real positive for them. They are headquartered in Little Rock, Arkansas, and they were founded originally, if you trace the very basics, very start of the company, to 1938, and that's a good number to remember. And they were founded by William T. Dillard, and it was originally, if you go all the way back to their first department store, it was Wooten and Dillard. So he was one of the partners in that store. The company is still, at the time this video is going out, controlled by the Dillard family that occupy a lot of the management positions and have a huge influence and control over the business. And it also makes it a family-controlled company that changes the culture quite a lot. They have credit card partnerships. At the minute, they work with Wells Fargo and American Express, but that may change. So be aware of what the credit cards the company is offering as well, because that's a really important part of their business. And it is a good idea to know the exact number of stores. So I'd research how many stores do they have, memorize that number, and in your answer say that Dillard's has this number of stores. A great thing that you can do to prepare is just read one of their annual reports. And I don't mean read it word for word, it's far too long. I mean, read the start of it and then skim through it, and you'll get a really great impression of what their business does, how it works, and the current focus of their business. And it's a really simple thing to take 10, 15 minutes to read, and you'll get lots of great information. And you can say in your interview, while I was preparing for this interview, I had a read of your annual report and I learned this, this, and this. And that just really helps to impress them. And so feel free to take lots of notes from this, screenshot, take a photograph of this particular section, and these are the facts that you can take to your interview. The next one that is, of course, incredibly important is, why do you want to work at Dillard's? And they expect you to have a decent answer to this. So let's look at the sort of things you want to talk about, and I'll help you prepare a good answer to this. So the first thing is, why is Dillard's right for you? Why is this the right place for you to work? You want to show that it actually matches your skills. So what are you good at? What are your interests? Does this actually match it? Tell them, this matches my skills, and explain why. You also want to show off relevant experience. If you've worked in retail in the past, you've worked with customers, you've worked in customer service, and you've got those skills, this is a good match for you, and you want to make that clear. You also want to give the idea of staying with the company and growing. Perhaps you have ambitions of moving into retail management in future, and this is somewhere you could potentially build a career. It's a large organization. It's not a store where, for example, there is an assistant manager, and that's it. There's all these different departments of the store, and there is opportunities to grow a lot more in a larger organization. And you want to be enthusiastic about the company. So say really positive things about them, talk about your experience having shopped there, and be really positive. So let's look at some things you could talk about. It's a family-owned business. That makes them special. That's different to a lot of other employers, and that gives them a unique culture. You could say that you love working with customers and that you want a job that is customer-facing. You could say that you're knowledgeable about fashion and that you really have an active interest in fashion and you love Dillard's products and they match your interests, that you can provide excellent customer service here, that in this upscale department store environment, this is a great opportunity to really provide great service and personal service. That this is a perfect match for your skills and link that to your previous experience. If you have extensive retail experience or extensive experience in customer service, say that and talk about that this job is a continuation of previous jobs that you've had where you've built up that bank of skills. You want to have an active job. You don't want to be sitting down at a desk all day. If this is a store role that you're applying for, you want to be up, you want to be active, you want to be busy, and you like that in your work. That you really like working in a team and that you're effective at working in teams. That you see this as a potential long-term career and mention what your ambitions are and that you feel that you could achieve this with Dillard's. And that this is a large organization. One store is in itself quite a large employer, and you feel there's going to be lots of opportunities within that organization, and you're really enthusiastic to develop over the next few years with the organization. So I would bullet point out an answer. I'd pick 5 or 6 things on that list, and each of the things on the tick, you ought to get in a bullet pointed answer, and you're going to have a really strong answer ready to go. You don't want to try and make this one up on the spot because it's not going to be very good. Have an answer planned and prepared ready. And when they ask, why do you want to work here? And you can just go, I want to work here because this, and this, you're going to have a great answer and it's going to really help to impress them. The next question is, how would you deal with an upset customer at Dillard's? And unfortunately, in retail, you're going to have to deal with the aftermath of when things have gone wrong, when people are unhappy, and they want people that can deal with that effectively. And so let's look at a simple way of answering it. So the first thing you do, and say this very strongly, is I will always provide excellent service to all Dillard's customers. So it doesn't matter if they're coming to you upset, angry, annoyed, you're going to provide the same consistent high level of service. You then say, I'm proactive in supporting customers. So it doesn't have to be a customer that's upset coming to me for help. If I see that a customer is upset or annoyed by something, I will actively seek out to resolve that issue proactively. Then you can say, I always listen to customers, show that I genuinely care about their welfare and what's upsetting them, and that they have a good experience, and you look to resolve their issue. The next thing you can do is talk about some techniques. So you could say, I like to use the herd technique, which is a really powerful way for dealing with problems with customers, and that is to hear, empathize, apologize, resolve, and diagnose. So if you memorize the phrase heard, just memorize heard, and then what each of those things stand for, that is the structure to your answer. You can just talk about each of those things, and that is what you do. If you do that, you're getting all of the elements in dealing with an upset customer and really acing the question. And then to round off your final answer, you're going to talk about the success that you're trying to achieve, which is my goal is to identify and resolve the cause of upset, thus ensuring a positive customer experience at Dillard's. That's what you try to do. You're taking the upset customer, you're making them happy, problem solved, and then you can move on to the next customer. And this is how you do it. So talk about this, and you've got an excellent answer. Then they might ask an open-ended question like, why should we hire you? What skills are you going to bring? What previous experience you have you can bring to the role? Any of those sort of things. I'm going to give you loads of phrases and lots of things that you could include. And I would have a bullet-pointed list just ticking off all the things on my list here that apply to you, and then talk about those in your interview. And you've got all the reasons why they should hire you and all the great things you want to show off. So if you're knowledgeable about fashion, say that. You're applying for a role in a company that's main focus of their business is fashion, and say that you're knowledgeable about it, because that's important. That you're well liked by customers. In previous roles, you form strong relationships with regular customers, you become very trusted, and that relationship really makes you effective at your job. That you work well in a team, you support other team members, you've been involved perhaps in training other team members and have formed strong professional working relationships that makes you very effective as a team member. That you're highly reliable, that you're always on time, you're never late, and that you take your work very seriously. And if you're given some responsibility, you can be relied on to deliver that effectively. That you've got great retail experience, that you're proactive, that you're employing someone not just to do the job to the minimum of their ability, but will actually seek out customers that are having issues and will be really proactive and active in their work. If you've got lots of experience, use the word extensive. So you've got extensive customer service experience. That's one thing that would make you stand out. If you're physically fit and you can cope with the demands of the job, you can be really busy effectively, talk about that. That's a great strength to have. If you're very supportive and you work well with others, that's a good thing to say. If you've got certain qualifications, really any qualification that is relevant, now's a good time to bring that up, because that helps you stand out. That you've got a strong work ethic, that you're just a hard worker. And another great phrase to mention is that you take ownership and you take responsibility. So that if you're, for example, assigned, can you look after this section of the store, you're going to make that a really big part of what you're doing. You're going to take ownership of it, you're going to take responsibility of it, and you're going to make that part of yourself, that you're being put in charge of that, and you're going to make it brilliant. And so someone who takes ownership and responsibility is so much better than someone that just does it because it's just a job, that you're actually proud of the work that you do and you take it seriously. And that's a really great value to have, and something that we'd like to hear about. And then before we finish, here are some questions that you might want to ask them at the end of your interview. So they'll say, do you have any questions for us? And I'll give you some suggestions of what you might want to ask and certain things that you should never ask. So you might say, what attracted you to join Dillard's? And find out, why did the person interviewing you or the people interviewing you, what attracted them to join the company? And you can add that to your answer about why you want to join the company and share in their enthusiasm there. You can say, what training and progression opportunities could potentially be available to a high-performing employee at Dillard's over the next 3 to 5 years. Find out what potentially you could achieve here. Show that you're ambitious. Show that you care about being high-performing. And also, if there is opportunities, now is a good time to start that conversation if you are ambitious. You could say, can you tell me more about the team you have here at this Dillard's and how this role fits into your team? Find out about your colleagues, find out a little bit more about your role, and show a real interest in that role and that this matches your expectations. You could say, I am of course very interested in joining Dillard's, therefore I'd like to find out the next steps in your hiring process. Find out if you're going to find out if you got the job straight away. If they're interviewing other people, it might be a few days. You probably just want to know that for your own peace of mind. So re-emphasize your interest and then ask that question. Then end on a positive note, be really positive, be really happy, even if the interview hasn't went perfectly. Big smiles. Thank the panel that's interviewing you for the interview. Be really appreciative of that. That's just a nice value to have, and remind them of your interest. Things that you never ask about is, don't ask about taking time off. You haven't been employed yet. They haven't even chosen you for the job, and you're already saying, can I have these days off? That's really bad. Don't talk about what holidays are available. That's really negative to ask about in an interview. You're interviewing for a job and asking about when you don't need to work. Don't ask about pay. Now is not the time to negotiate. If you're going to negotiate after they've decided you're brilliant and they want to hire you. And then never ask about transferring to another store. They're trying to employ someone for this store, not for another store. So you're just creating problems for the management. If you're interested in immediately leaving their organization and going somewhere else to a different location, you're not going to be their favorite candidate. So hopefully this is helpful to you. Please post in the comments what questions Dillard's asked at your interview so we can get a wider variety and some other ideas. And if it was helpful, please like and subscribe. And finally, thank you very much for watching.